What does standard deviation actually mean when it comes to your investment portfolio? It's actually pretty simple to understand. All right, so standard deviation is just simply a range around an average. That's it. So we'll just use an investment portfolio for simplicity that you expect to have a +5 average rate of return, a positive return of 5. All right, and we're just going to throw a standard deviation of 10. So all the standard deviation says is the range around that +5. And so in this case, we say standard deviation of 10. You add and subtract that towards your +5. So in any given year, we'd say your portfolio could be up 15% or down 5. And one standard deviation means 2/3 of the time. So in this case, we have a +5 as our average, a standard deviation of 10. We would say 2/3 of the time, our portfolio could go as low as 5 on the -5 or as high as +15. In financial planning, we like to run 3 standard deviations, which would be, I think it's 99.8% of the time, we would say we have 3 standard deviations around the average. So again, the standard deviation 1 is 10. 3 standard deviations is 30. All right, 10 plus 10 plus 10 is 30. So in this case, we say 30 plus or minus 5, +5. So in any given year, with a 99.8% probability, we'd expect your portfolio to give us no worse than -25%, but no better than +35, just 30 plus or minus your average. And again, the average here is positively skewed because markets give you more higher returns or positive returns than lower returns. So in this case, the average is +5, and we'd expect your portfolio to give us 30 plus or minus the +5. In this case, 35 on the high end, minus 25 on the down end. A lot of people, and somewhat mistakenly, will use standard deviation as a measure of downside risk only. They'll say, that is my downside risk on the downside volatility that I'm assuming. In this case, they say, hey man, with a 99.8% of the time, I could lose 25% of my money. Am I okay with that? And while that's a valid way to look at it, it's not that likely, because remember, that's 99.8% of the time that could happen, but it's not likely to happen still because we have an average still nonetheless. In fact, we'd say within 66% of the time, you probably won't be down more than 5%. So it's not likely to happen, but it's still out there. It still could happen for sure, all right? But what it misses is it also misses the upside as well. A lot of people, when it comes to retirement, and they should, frankly, they should be more worried about the downside than the upside. Absolutely. Downside is a killer when it comes to retirement, without question. But we also got to look at the upside. What's our upside? What's our upside? Because the upside is the money that we're making that we can live on. We can leave to spend more in retirement. We can leave to heirs and whatnot. And so if we have a lower standard deviation, that means while there might be lower downside risk, i.e. we might not be down 25%, there's going to be lower upside gain as well, where we might not be up 35%. And that is important because the upside actually means something too, because it gives you more growth in the portfolio, more money to have to spend, more money to have to leave to legacy and things of that nature as well. And I look at like going to a rifle range. If you've ever been to a rifle range, and what you want to do first is you want to zero your rifle. Zero just means you want to have a shoot as tight of a shot group as possible. We don't want your bullets flying all over the place. You know what I'm saying? We want you to hit center mass as much as we possibly can within a very tight shot group. So that'd be a low standard deviation. Not a lot of volatility around our average. Our average is center mass, right here. We want to hit center mass, and we want to hit it here, here, here. But we don't want to hit it, in your nuts. We don't want to hit it way over your head so you hit grandma behind you. We want to be very tight. So that way we know it's the rifle. If the rifle is zeroed and I'm missing my targets, we know it's not the rifle that's the problem, it's me. You see what I'm saying? If the rifle isn't zeroed, that means the rifle, regardless of how good of a sharpshooter I am, because the rifle, it could put bullets all over the place. So when it comes to our rifle range, we want a very tight shot group, a low standard deviation. On the other hand, We don't want a high standard deviation of 35 and 25 because that means you can shoot and you might be the best sharpshooter in the history of mankind, but because your rifle is all over the place, you don't know where your bullets are going to end up, and that would be to danger. All right, we don't want that. We just want to be able to take out the target at hand. So that's what a standard deviation is. The lower the standard deviation, the tighter the shot group. The higher standard deviation, the more volatile your bullets are going down range, which means you're good chance you're not going to hit your target first and foremost, but there's also a good chance you might hit somebody else. So that's what standard deviation does, and that's how it can be defined by going to the gun range. And you should go to the rifle range. Do they zero? I'm sure they do, but I don't know. We never had a handgun in the infantry. Officers did, but we never did. So I don't know. Do you zero your Glock? I actually don't know. Actually, it's a good question. So do you zero a handgun? I don't know. I just know you zero a rifle for sure. All right. Hope this helps. Love your thoughts. God bless. And paw that like button. Paw.